Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bitter Rivals podcast. I am your host, Avery Roush, along with co-host Gitano Gallo. This is episode 128, powered by 91N. It has been a long time since we last spoke. We probably lasted an episode just after the Cup final, I would imagine, is the last episode we did, right?
Yeah, it was a postseason kind of breakdown. So yeah, I think we maybe waited till the draft because I feel like we talked about the Habs drafting Demidov. I feel like we talked about that.
I feel like you're right as well.
But even then, that's like a couple months ago.
We have a whole new season of hockey to preview for you, but first we want to talk about the most unfortunate and probably most eye-catching news of the offseason, and that is the passing of one of the game's best and his brother, Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Gaudreau. Unfortunately passed away due to an idiot driving drunk. There's no real other way to say that. Yeah, Gitano, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's just, unfortunate doesn't even begin to describe it. It's just so avoidable. Like that's like the kind of the worst part for me is like it's just entirely avoidable. Takes 2 seconds to fucking call an Uber, fucking call a taxi, call someone to pick you up. But instead, that fucking asshole decided to drive drunk. And now, 2 wives are without their husbands, parents are without their sons, a sister without her brothers, and children without their fathers. Just entirely avoidable. And just a really fucking awful situation.
Absolutely
And
gut-wrenching.
that's yeah.
There's no real positive spin on any of this at all. Like, it's just, I remember hearing about it, but happened probably near the end of August there, I believe, is about the time frame. And I remember reading about it, and it was late at night that I read about it. I was out of town in a hotel room, and I was like, there's no way this is real. Like, I kind of, just went to bed. I had a couple of drinks that night myself and just went to bed, and then I woke up the next morning and it was completely real, and some of the worst news that that somebody could wake up to. It was terrible. And like you said, it's, you have wives without husbands, parents without their children, and most importantly, like you said, man, like, you have kids without fathers now. I don't think we really need to go into detail about what Johnny's reputation is around the league. He's one of the nicest guys, apparently, in the league, just so humble and kind and always thinking about other people. And I'm sure his brother was the exact same way. And, they were raised right. They were good people. And it's one of the worst tragedies that anybody could ever imagine. And like I said, there's no real positive spin that anybody could have on it. It's just terrible all the way around, completely avoidable, like Gitano said, and needs to stop, man. Like, I get it. I like to have a couple of drinks every now and again, but I don't. Why are you driving? Like, I don't understand. And the incident, again, not going to get into too much detail. Like, this was entirely on this drunk driver. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is because he was drunk, driving aggressively, and killed 2 people, right? Like, that is,
there is straight up vehicular homicide.
Yeah, there was no accident. The accident is not a part of this situation at all. This was not an accident. This was entirely the fault of one man. Anyway, I don't think we need to get into too much more detail about it, but that needed to be said. The game lost one of the best in the game, one of the nicest guys in the game, and that family will never be the same again. So prayers out to them, and not easy stuff.
No, not at all. So there's no real nice way to transition out of this.
Not at all.
No. But we are going to start with the divisions, going through, probably start in the Pacific, start out west, work our way east.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
All right. So I think the Pacific's pretty straightforward, not gonna lie.
No, and this is what we do every year, right? We start in the West, we go through what we kind of think is going to happen in each division, and then we move towards the East, obviously finishing with the Atlantic, which both the Leafs and Habs are a part of. So yeah, what division would you like to start with, Central or Pacific?
So Pacific's at the bottom of the NHL website, so that's where I'm starting.
Okay, Pacific. So this division obviously has the Cup finalists from the Western Conference last year, the Edmonton Oilers. Probably going to be one of the top teams in this division if all things shake out like we anticipate them shaking out. Vegas is always a scary team. The Ducks are kind of in a similar spot to where actually the Montreal Canadiens are, where they have some good young players. Maybe not as advanced as the Habs in terms of how old those young players are, how many of them they have, those kinds of things. They're a little bit back in that process, further back in that process than the Habs. Kings, I don't really know what to make of them. Same with the Flames. Sharks are going to be a mess, obviously. And the Kraken, they could have a comeback year. They made a few key offseason signings there that could give them something. They came out hot into the league. First couple years, they were pretty strong. Last year, not so much. So we'll see what they can do. And obviously Vancouver went on one of the biggest runs in the NHL last year, right? So that could be an interesting team as well. This division is going to be a little bit more competitive than in the past couple of years, I would imagine. So let's start at the bottom. I would probably throw the Sharks right at the very bottom of this division.
Yeah. Again, like they're rebuilding. They're still super young, but they're just nowhere near ready to compete in this division. Some of the young players they have, though, like give Celebrini and Will Smith a couple more years, like surround them with a couple more pieces, and they're gonna be fucking dynamite.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Yeah, Celebrini's going to be interesting this year. Obviously, not a generational talent like McDavid or Matthews or even a guy like Connor Bedard, but first overall pick nonetheless. Going to be a strong player for this team. Let's see what he can do this year. It'll be interesting. What do you got for a points total for Macklin Celebrini this year? What should the over/under be set at if we were betting men?
Now, just because this isn't based on his skill, this is based on his kind of surroundings. He doesn't have a lot of high quality teammates around him. I think if he goes like 40, 45 points, that's a pretty solid rookie year for him. A lot of that offensive burden is just going to be on him. Like he's not going to have support on his line. He's not going to have support, in terms of a second line. So I think probably 40, 45 points is a decent benchmark for him.
Yeah, I would say that, and that's probably going to come with a lot of power play points. You would imagine he's going to be on their top unit. They just don't have much of a veteran presence there. They don't have much in terms of leadership. It is a very, very young team with some young players. Not much in terms of defense and goaltending. Like, truly, if you look at it like their top pairing is Cody Ceci, and who did I see is on that top pairing with them? It's like
it doesn't matter when Cody Ceci's on your top pairing. There's issues.
It's going to be a tough year for fans out in San Jose, but that's what happens in this league, especially the way the salary cap works, man. You can only be good for so long, and they were good for so long. They've been
the better part of a decade.
Yeah. So, you're going to have 4 or 5 years of turmoil after that, especially in a small market like San Jose. Not much you can do. I would say finishing in second last in that division, I would probably throw the Ducks there. I don't know how you're feeling.
Yeah, same thing. Just they're a little, like you said, kind of further ahead. I think they're further ahead than the Sharks in this process of their rebuild, but still kind of behind where the Habs are. I do expect Leo Carlsson to have a good year. I really want him to. I think Trevor Zegras kind of has a lot to prove this year. He's got a big chip on his shoulder, whether he's going to stick around and be kind of a big part of that rebuild or whether he's going to get shipped out as part of the rebuild. So I think, depending on how he plays, if he decides, that he wants to be part of this team, part of the rebuild, I expect a big year out of him. If not, I would expect him to be gone sooner rather than later.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree with you there. Going to be an interesting year for those bottom feeding teams. Funny, those LA teams, like I said, like we just said, those LA teams were so good for so long. All 3 of those California teams, I should say, not LA teams, LA, San Jose, Anaheim, they were a powerhouse for years with Getzlav and Perry and those teams. And then you have
Kopitar and Brown, Heatley, Spezza, or not Heatley, Spezza, Heatley, Thornton, Marlowe. Like, oh yeah.
Yeah, they were powerhouse. That road trip was a nightmare for how many years, and now it's like going there.
I mean, like it still is.
And if you're, but I think now if you leave that state and you've gone 2-1, you're probably a little bit butthurt. You're probably like, we should have probably went 3-0. You know, if you're a team like Toronto, maybe not if you're Montreal.
I was gonna say, yeah, maybe not for Montreal. For Toronto, maybe, but like for the Habs, like. But I remember like going there and like getting a point. Like if you got 1 point out of 6, you were fucking buzzing with that.
Back in the day, yeah. Okay, moving on. So I think I'm actually going to throw in this 5th position here. There's 7 teams in that division, right? Am I making that up?
2, 3, 4, 5,
8.
6, 7. There's 8.
Okay, so in the 6th position, sorry, I'm going to throw Calgary.
I don't hate that shout. The only reason I would probably have LA there instead of Calgary is just I think Calgary's got a couple kind of a little more like solidity in their pieces. LA is still kind of in flux, you know, kind of in a half rebuild, kind of not really rebuild. They did manage to ship out PLD, which is huge for them. Quentin Byfield looks like he's going to have, you know, a real breakout year. But I like Calgary's solidity and kind of the stability they've got. And I also think it might not last them the whole season, but I definitely think for the first little bit of the season, they're going to be kind of riding the emotional wave of the Johnny Gaudreau tragedy. So I'd expect kind of some big performances, at least at home, for the first kind of, you know, month or two of the season. And that might just set them enough apart from LA to finish ahead of them.
Okay. The one thing that concerns me about Calgary is who plays goalie for them.
Who plays goalie for LA?
I believe it's Kemper.
Oh yeah, that's not terrible.
Kemper.
Is it Riddick and Wolf in Calgary?
So funny you say that. Riddick is actually the backup in Los Angeles.
Who the
fuck are they? It is Wolf. It is Wolf.
Yeah, I know Wolf is definitely the one.
And then it looks like Devin Cooley is their backup goaltender. I've never heard of that man in my entire life. Dan Vladar as well, it seems, is also a Calgary Flame.
Yeah, it's not inspiring a lot of confidence.
No, that isn't inspiring a lot of confidence. I think that Huberdeau, I don't see him being any better than he has been his first couple of years in Calgary this year. I think that is going to, if it doesn't already, look like one of the worst contracts they've ever signed as a team. Like, I don't think that's too far out of the question.
No, I think it's up there with one of the worst in NHL history if he doesn't turn it around a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have to get back up to 100 points a season, but, like, he's got to do something.
I think losing Backstrom hurts them immensely, I think is the point. And that's why I have them finishing just ahead of the California teams. I just think that losing Markstrom is devastating for them. Next, I am going to put who you had here. I'm going to put LA. And this is close. And I'm going to give away my next one as well. This is close between them and Seattle for me.
I think Seattle's enough ahead of them that they shouldn't be that close. But okay, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it.
To me, it's close. Byfield's going to have a year. I think Byfield is going to have a year.
Yeah.
And, you know, they did lose Doughty for the first few months of the season, but once he comes back, rested, a couple months into the season, I think that'll be great for them. I really do. I don't think that's going to hurt them at all. Kempe's still there, right? Kevin Fiala's still there. Anze Kopitar obviously is still there. Brant Clark could take a step this year. Like, these are all players that could easily fill important roles. Your boy Philip Deneau is still there, right? So I don't know. And then when you compare that, I'm just looking at rosters here right now.
Yeah.
When you compare that to Seattle, it's close, right? Like, what do you expect? Brandon Tanev, great winger. Chandler Stevenson was a big signing out there. Who else did they pick up? Defenseman. They just picked them up Montour out of Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beniers had a little bit of a down year last year, but looking at him coming back, if Philip Grubauer is healthy, like those are good players, but I don't think they're that much better than LA. I think that they're better than LA, but I wouldn't. I think we agree with the slotting of the teams. I just think there's less of a difference than you think.
See, I don't think it's more. I don't think it's that I think Seattle is like as like that much higher. I'm sleeping on LA a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
I hear you. And then I guess how I have this is Vegas 2, Edmonton 1 in this division.
I think that's pretty fair. I'm gonna like rip the Band-Aid off here. I think McDavid is going supernova this year. I'm pretty sure he just locked himself in his basement, stared at his Conn Smythe trophy the entire offseason. And he's just gonna come out, he's gonna score 200 points, and the Oilers are just gonna fucking fly all year.
I can't argue with you on that. I don't really see things turning out any other way myself. Yeah, that's going to be McDavid's division this year, and Draisaitl's locked up now. Stuart Skinner's going to be better this year than he was last year. Bouchard was unbelievable last year. Who knows if he can keep that up? Hopefully he can. Maybe Darnell Nurse starts playing a little bit more up to his contract. You never know. You know, Ekholm
Come on,
has
Abe.
been...
Don't expect miracles out of Darnell Nurse.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's how that's going to shake out. I think that Vegas's run of strength here, like I think losing Marchessault and Stevenson is going to hurt them a lot more than they think it is.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Like for sure. I could even see them feasibly going down to 3 and seeing either LA or Seattle take that second spot. Like that's entirely possible. I don't think it's likely, but that's entirely possible.
Yeah, I think definitely if one of those two teams has like kind of an upper of a year, then yeah, they could definitely overtake Vegas. But like Vegas should be finishing second in this division.
I would think so. Okay, let's move on to the Central here. Last place, let's be honest, it's still Chicago.
Yep.
It's still Chicago. They're terrible. Not much needs to be said other than they're terrible.
Yeah, no, they've got Bedard. They just need to build around him now. It'll be a couple years before they're any good, but yeah, I expect kind of.
Yeah, Captain Nick Foligno also interesting.
I mean, I like that better than them giving Bedard the C. Like,
well, dude, he's not going to be there for more than a couple years. Nobody needs the C. Like, you guys aren't doing anything anyway. You're not going to make the playoffs. You're not going to go on a run. You don't need a captain right now. The Leafs went years without a captain.
Oh, I know. The Habs did a whole year without a captain when Shea Weber was fucking clinically dead before we traded his contract. But yeah, I just like the fact that it's not on Bedard immediately. He doesn't. Not that he can't handle that kind of pressure, but he doesn't need that right now. Like, let him develop a little bit and then give it to him. But yeah, so they'll be in the basement for sure.
Utah at 7.
Yeah, but because typically this would have been Arizona, and we just go, haha, they fucking suck, and they have no fans and all that. I think in Utah, I think they're going to see a big change. It's not going to be enough to make a significant difference in the standings, but I think having, kind of knowing that ownership is kind of in for the long run, the city's in it for the long run, the fans are in it for the long run. I think there's going to be just a little more of a boost around them. Again, not enough, to make a significant difference in standings. But I do expect kind of a better season from that group of players that has moved from Arizona to Utah.
Yeah, and they did pick up like a couple key pieces. Mikhail Sergachev, maybe.
Yeah.
Pretty key piece. Clayton Keller's great hockey player. We know that. Yeah. But I don't see them finishing any better than 7th. I'm going to toss up here for 6th. It's going to be 5 and 6 are going to be Minnesota, St. Louis. I just don't know what order, to be honest.
I like Minnesota's youth movement right now. They've got a couple of good young players, Boldy, Marco Rossi. Kaprizov's still not, he's older, but he's not like super old still. Yeah, I think that kind of dynamic offense is kind of what's going to separate them from St. Louis. But St. Louis is like they're fine. They're not good. They're not bad. They're just kind of there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to be bold here.
Oh yeah.
With some of the changes that Nashville made, I'm going to have them finishing ahead of Dallas.
So here's the thing. I've got Winnipeg next.
Wow.
I'm just... Again, you have probably one of the best goalies in the league in Connor Hellebuck. But he's kind of made it very clear that he wants to win something, and that the ownership and management haven't really, built that team around him. And I'm not impressed or even moved by their work in the off season. And I think there's only so far that, a goalie like him can carry you. And when I look at the three other teams in the division we haven't talked about, it's like they have that goalie plus a team. So I see the Winnipeg Jets kind of trailing behind them. Again, still significantly better than, Minnesota, St. Louis, and the rest of the division. But I just don't think they're nearly as good as the other three teams in the division.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You have Chicago, Utah, any combination of Minnesota. So you did say St. Louis, Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna go Winnipeg. Okay. Yes. Actually, do you know what? That makes total sense. I'm gonna do that too.
Yeah.
That makes yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'll buy that.
I mean,
but then I'm gonna go Dallas, Nashville in third.
Nashville in third?
No, Nashville in second.
Okay. So as I said, I've got Nashville in third. But Dallas I think it's 2? Dallas at 2, Colorado at 1, obviously. But yeah, I could be convinced to put Nashville at 2 here.
I'm gonna go Nashville at 2. I've always liked UC Saros. I think he's one of the best goalies in the league.
Fantastic goalie. Yeah.
Yeah. They still have Roman Josi, one of the best offensive defensemen in the league. They picked up Steven Stamkos. They picked up Jonathan Marchessault. They still have Philip Forsberg. I'm telling you, man, I like them. I like them a lot.
Yeah, no, I think them and Dallas will battle for 2 and 3. I think it'll be close.
That'll be close. Yeah, and then Colorado's gonna win the division. Yeah, obviously. But
yeah. When you were saying, these top ones are tough, I'm like, Winnipeg's not really up there. I don't think. And again, I still think there's a significant gap between them and like.
I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot Winnipeg existed before you said that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you're not the first person in history. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so that's our 2 Western Conference division. Let's go to the Metro. Hate to say it, Columbus is going to finish last.
Yeah, and I mean, like the circumstances around them finishing last absolutely fucking blow. There's no nice way to put it. But when you lose your best player like that, that's, it's not like a trade was made where you're getting something in return. Like just straight up, you don't have him anymore, which is just again super fucking awful for them. I do think they'll have a strong start to the year. Again, kind of ride that emotional wave for a little bit. But at some point, the hockey gods will, not they're going to smite them down, but it's you can't carry that for a whole year when your roster already is as not good as it was last season.
With at best.
Yeah. So then again, with the loss of Gaudreau, it's just yeah, they'll finish last in the division.
Yeah. Yes. I think finishing 7th in the division, I'm going to go with the Washington Capitals.
I agree, but Ovi's probably still going to score 40.
Yeah, and that's all that they're in the league for this year. Nobody cares about making the playoffs. Let's get as many goals as we possibly can. I think that's
41. He needs 41 to tie and 42 to overtake, so I think he's going to get his 42 this year. But that will be the only thing the Capitals fans will remember about this season upcoming.
Absolutely. So next I'm going to throw the New York Islanders.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Yeah, they just again one of those. They're like St. Louis, where they're not good, they're not bad, they're just kind of there.
Exactly.
They're better than Washington and Columbus are going to be, but they're still nowhere near as good as any of the other teams in the division are going to be. So yeah, I think they'll just kind of be mediocre this year.
Yeah, and then I think next I'm going to go Pittsburgh. And then Philadelphia.
Yes. Yeah. I think the Flyers are going to have a not that they're going to be the best team in the league, but I think they're going to have a really good year for that group and for what their expectations are. I think they're going to have a really good year.
Well, they did last year, right? They had a great year for what their expectations are. So I think they're going to continue to build on that. And
Nick Cobb's going to be fucking electric, by the way.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see that kid play.
He's going to be so good.
Yeah. Yeah, Torts is just you can never count out Torts either, you know?
No, and that's it. Like, he's such a polarizing coach because either players absolutely fucking hate him or they're willing to run through a brick wall for him.
And I think they'll run through a brick wall for him. Like, just that Philly Broad Street Bullies mentality is perfect.
The sense that you get around that entire club, like from the players to the coaches, front office, is like everyone is like in on what Torts is saying, and I think that is super exciting for them.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna go Carolina and the Devils finishing first. Carolina in second, Devils finishing first.
So the Rangers in third?
Oh, yeah. Wait. No.
Yeah, I was just like, I've got Carolina.
Why do I keep
Rangers,
forgetting
Devils.
hockey teams? Like, why do I think every division is only 7 teams? Am I, like, what's going on? Okay, so yeah, no, I'm going to go Carolina in third, Rangers in second, Devils in first.
Yeah, okay.
I think the Devils are winning the division, for sure.
Yeah, they were fantastic before without goaltending. Now they've got goaltending.
They didn't have a great year last year, but they were hurt all year long.
Oh yeah,
and they had no goal.
No, but like you look at the team that they had, and obviously the injuries impacted them pretty deeply. But like like we were saying it all last year, like if they had a goalie, like that's it, that's all they need. So Markstrom with Jake Allen backing him up is that's one of the better 1-2 punches in the league. Behind an already fucking disgusting team, I think they will be pretty comfortable in the division, I think.
Yeah, teach me how to Dougie Hamilton there, too. And then a healthy Jack Hughes. They're going to be a lot better this year, for sure. So, do we have a collective one there? So, we're both Devils 1, Rangers 2, Canes 3, Flyers 4, Hens 5, Islanders 6, Capitals 7, Jackets 8.
Yeah.
Okay. Watch it can be just like the exact
Yeah, fucking Crosby and Malkin are both dropping 120 points, leading the Penguins to the fucking division title. Fucking
yeah. For some reason, like Columbus finishes, and no.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our division, which is the division we should know the most about.
Bottom of the division, I still think is pretty self-explanatory. I still think it's Detroit.
Yeah, I don't think Detroit's done enough and not that I read too much into preseason games, but I've watched a couple of their preseason games and boy do they look like shit. So, yeah, I would probably agree with you. Detroit's probably the bottom of the division there.
Yeah, I think just the Yzer plan is just not quite.
He's not. Yeah, the Yzer plan is cloudy vision, blurred vision, boys.
Like they have like some good pieces, Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond, and guys like that. But then it's just
but they don't have a good team. Like that's
the thing. Like the pieces they surround them with is like Ben Sherratt and Justin Holl and fucking like
just went on, dude. The fact that guy got $10 million and then like was put on waivers the following year is poetic. And that want to know what was even more poetic about it? Pierre Engvall got like a 7-year deal. Him and Justin Holl were put on waivers in the exact same day. Like Holl and all the memes online, like all of the X memes were fucking Kyle Dubas just like literally seeing those two at the waiver wire was like crap.
The gif of him with the gif from him with 2 phones, yeah.
Yeah.
Signing a guy to just on Engvall, signing a guy to a 7-year deal and then putting him on waivers a year later, like
crazy. Like, what are you doing? Remember, that's the same guy who signed Marleau to like a 5-year deal when he was like 35, though.
Yeah.
Like, and then the Leafs had to trade away the pick that turned into Seth Jarvis just to get rid of the contract like a year later. Like, come on. What is that? Why would you do that? Oh my god.
Yeah, it wasn't even like it was like 5 years at league min either. It was like 5 years at like a couple.
5.5, dude. Like it was $5.5 million
bad
for a 35-year-old Patrick Marleau.
Like it was because like if you signed like 5 years at league min, you're like, whatever, like fuck, like
Yeah, just buy him out. Take the 200-year dead cap. But no, we had to come on. Yeah.
Oh fuck! I forgot about that a little bit. That was great.
Seth Jarvis, who is a great hockey player.
Fantastic player.
Great hockey. And I'm not saying the Leafs would have even picked him. I don't know who they would have picked.
But just the fact that he would have been available to pick, but you guys instead,
had to get rid of Patrick Marleau's contract. Thank you, Lou. Yeah. Okay, so in second last in the division, sorry, it's the Ottawa Senators.
Oh, I'm not sorry about it at all. I don't know why we're apologizing to all 6 of their fans.
It's the Ottawa Senators.
They're just bad. They're just bad. I think Linus Ullmark's a great pickup for them. Like, genuinely, I think that's fantastic. But again, there's just no team in front of them.
Yep. Yeah.
I think that's all I got for them because that's all. I don't care to give them any more time of day. If we're gonna be honest.
Yeah. No, they're just the Ottawa Senators too.
Yeah. The Canada Senators because they're not even fucking in Ottawa.
Yeah, didn't they just strike a deal to build a building? Are they building a building? Did I see that? Am I making that up? Was that in a dream?
Here's the thing. They've talked about it so much over the last fucking decade and a half that I could not tell you. I know they've been rejected like a million times trying to build like a downtown whole thing.
I think the new owner got something started though. Actually, Andlauer, Michael Andlauer, the dude's name is. He's a businessman from Toronto, which is hilarious too. But anyway.
Yeah, I know that was part of their pitch of their ownership was that they wanted to get a downtown arena, but I genuinely could not tell you if anything has happened with that recently.
I feel like some groundwork has been laid. Let's leave it at that. In sixth position in the Atlantic, I have Montreal.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I think again, this is kind of we're not quite there yet to be kind of challenging for playoffs. But I like what Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton said that kind of the expectation for this year is to at least be playing meaningful games past the trade deadline. I think that's a pretty reasonable expectation for the Habs. Again, it doesn't mean we're going to make a playoff spot or kind of push all the way to the end, but just to kind of not be done and dusted in February would be like a good step. We'll talk a little more in depth about the Habs when we kind of do it at the end here and go through our individual stuff. But yeah, I think the Habs are probably fair in that position. Okay.
So Habs, and then I am going to put the Buffalo Sabres up in fifth.
Yeah, I think this is a big year for them. If Devin Levi kind of can step up now here and really kind of prove himself, they could be, again, probably just a year off of legitimately contending for a playoff spot.
Yeah, Captain Rasmus Dahlin, I think, is huge for them to finally have a captain after a few years.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at that back end, it's fucking Dahlin, Owen Power, and fucking Bowen Byram is your top three. That's a fucking fantastic base to build a defense off, and they're all still so young. And then obviously up front, guys, fucking Tage Thompson's just fucking gross.
Paterka could take a step this year.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys that are primed and ready to take that step for Buffalo, and it should be an exciting year for them.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you on that, and I think fifth is a fair place to put them. I am going to have the Tampa Bay Lightning finishing in fourth here.
Yes, I think I can agree with that.
I'm gonna go Tampa Bay.
I'm trying to run the mental math in my head, but I just don't think they're better than Boston, Florida, or Toronto. So yeah, they're gonna have to be fourth. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think massive losses over the summer.
Huge.
Stamkos,
Sergachev. Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
Again, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, they still have Andrei Vasilevsky. They still have Nikita Kucherov. They still have Braden Point. They still have Victor Hedman. They're still a good team. I just don't think they're like you said. I don't think they're any better than Florida, Boston, or Toronto. If they are better than any of those teams, I would say they have a chance of being better than Boston.
Yes, because I think the Boston Bruins, I think, will be in third.
Me too. Yeah, I have them in third as well.
Yeah, actually up until yesterday when Swayman signed.
Yeah, I would have had. Yeah, without Swayman, they're definitely
Oh, I would have had Buffalo in a playoff spot for sure if Swayman didn't sign.
Yeah.
Because I think that's huge for them. Obviously he's one of the best goalies in the world, like fantastic. Earned every fucking penny of that. What is it? 66 million?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think kind of the rest of the team is still just kind of held together by fucking tape and string.
They're aging.
But they've been like that for years, and we keep fucking expecting them to drop off, and they just fucking don't.
I know. It's
so
it's scary even putting them in fucking third. Because they could easily finish them first. Because that's what they do. That's what they do.
I'm pretty sure I had them out of a playoff spot last year, and then they were basically one of the best teams in the league all season.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. They did lose Allmark though, so they're not going to have that 50-50 split. Yeah, so I don't know. Anything can happen, but I don't see them being better than they were last year for sure. I see them regressing quite a bit actually. And then I have Florida 2, Leafs 1, but you could go either way with that. I'm just putting the Leafs there because I'm a Leafs fan, obviously. But I think that the Leafs have done a lot to get better in spots that they really needed to over the summer. I think the new coach and that new style of coaching where it's going to be definitely a lot less ass kissing, I think is the nicest way to say it. And a lot more, you're going to see a lot more guys getting benched this year, I think. And I think that's the style that comes with that. A guy who will actually bench Mitch Marner when he sucks. A guy who will actually say, you know what, you're going to go sit for a game, Mitch. Or you're going to go, even Austin or John or Willie. I think that the fact that they're not going to have Sheldon Keefe, who, don't get me wrong, did his job for those young players at that time. I think they're at a stage in their careers where they need a hard ass. They need some hard coaching. And that's exactly what Craig Berube can bring. I like the defense. I like what they've done with the defense. Personally, I think that core is a lot better than anything I've seen up to this point in the Matthews era. Really, when you have a top pairing of Riley Tanev is a lot better than any top pairing I've seen in the blue and white since Matthews came into the league.
I'm trying to think who the fuck who was Caberlet's partner? Brian McCabe. Yeah. Oh, so that's probably the best D pairing you've had since then. Not even just since Matthews came into the league, since the fucking mid 2000s.
Right. And then who's to say Jake McCabe's still there. We picked up OEL, which I know is kind of a risky signing, but he did win a Stanley Cup last year. Right?
Yeah, I think the expectation around him has always been kind of too high. I think he's at his best a good defenseman, but I think just kind of in the situations he was in, he was expected to be a lot more than he was capable of. And so now when he plays kind of okay NHL hockey, everyone's like, oh, they kind of see him as not as good as they expect him to be, but he was never actually that good. If that makes sense.
No, it does. And I think that him probably playing sheltered minutes on a third pairing is what you want, with maybe him running the power play, take that pressure off of Morgan Rielly, because that's what OEL's done, right? And I doubt that's what they'll do. They'll probably still have Morgan Rielly running the power play, I would imagine.
It's nice to have that option, though.
At least to have that option. I don't know how they're gonna set that up though. Truly, just because OEL, I don't think you want playing any more than third pairing minutes. But to me, our perfect third pairing would be McCabe Benoit, because that was an elite pairing last year. Those two together were awesome. They were great. I loved them. Every game that they played together, they were fantastic. But I don't think they would be fantastic in a the 4-5 or the 3-4 hole. I think they need to be the 5-6 hole. So that where does that leave OEL, right? And then you also have Connor Timmins is still there. Still have Timothy Liljegren. Yanni Hakanpää we haven't even spoken about. That I don't even know if he's going to be playing. Like, who knows what's going on with that guy, to be honest. But yeah, it's interesting for sure. It's going to be an inch. But as a whole, when you look at that decor as a whole, it's the best decor that I've seen. Definitely in the Matthews era, and you're right, probably since the Sundin era. Like, truly. So, I think they finished top of the division. Want to get into some specifics here now?
Yeah, I one like kind of last note. Like it's so hard to, especially because Florida and Toronto have been two of the best teams in the league for the last couple of years. Like you're splitting hairs to separate the two of them. I'm gonna put Florida at one just because fuck the Leafs. That's my last.
Yeah, well, and they have Bobrovsky. They have such a solid team that won a Stanley Cup last year, man. Like,
yeah, and no major losses that I can think of.
Montour is the biggest loss, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, that decor is still fucking like loaded.
I also like just going back to Toronto, and this is kind of relates to Florida. Like, Stolarz is a great goaltender, and that's our number 2 with Woll as the number 1 right now. And Stolarz had a great year last year if you look at his numbers.
Limited, not to shit on here, but it was pretty limited minutes, no?
Or like, oh, Bobrovsky doesn't play all the time, dude. Let's look it up here just to get.
Yeah, I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to kill you. I'm genuinely like, I would assume he didn't play as much, like last year at all.
How many games did Stolarz get into? Last year, Anthony Stolarz played in 27 games.
Okay.
Fair bit of games. Put up a 203 goals against average and a 925 save percentage.
Yeah, I mean, like, those are okay numbers. Like, they're not, again, not good, not bad, just kind of, yeah. For your backup, like, that's pretty reasonable.
Exactly. You can't really ask for much more than that from a backup. No. So I like him with Woll as the number 1, or even like a 1A, 1B situation. I don't see that playing out horribly. I think that would be, if they could figure it out, would be great. So, yeah, let's get, like you said, let's get into some specifics. So I'll let you go in Montreal. You guys, it's going to be an interesting year for you. Still a rebuilding year. You probably aren't going to be doing a whole lot this year. What do you foresee?
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like we can't talk about the Montreal Canadiens summer without talking about the Patrick Laine trade. Sending Jordan Harris to Columbus for Patty Laine in a second, and eating the whole, 8.7 for 2 years on Laine. This was a pretty huge trade, represented, or represents still, kind of a step in, kind of a step forward for the Habs. Basically, for the last couple of years, we've had, a top line, which was Suzuki, Caulfield, Slafkovsky, and then with the injuries to Kirby Dach and Alex Newhook, basically like 2 third lines and a 4th line. So I think kind of a big thing for Hughes and Gorton this summer was establishing a second line, and obviously having Kirby Dach as the center for it, with Newhook and Patrick Laine on the wings, would have been, a significant step up for the Habs. I think it would have been massive for Caulfield, Slafkovsky, and Suzuki to kind of not always get the hardest matchups all of the time, because the Habs have been really easy to play against in that regard when you only have one line, offensively to worry about. He's kind of spreading that around, and also just Patty Laine is, former 40-goal scorer, someone to just be kind of a veteran presence in that very, very young forward core. Obviously, we don't get him for the first 3 months of the season, from the hit in the preseason game against the Leafs. Honestly, I thought his season was over at that point. I was ready to fucking send the Habs to the basement of the division. But getting him back in January, roughly, I think is going to be fucking huge for the Habs. And then the back end is where it's kind of really exciting, kind of in the now, because Lane Hutson is expected to start season with the Montreal Canadiens. And he's just unlike anything the Habs have seen in a very, very long time. I think his ceiling and just the way he's been playing is like higher than what PK Subban, because he's probably the most exciting player we've seen in defense. I think Lane Hutson is, significantly better than PK Subban and what his kind of ceiling is going to be. So that's a huge addition there. And then the goaltending situation is kind of the last thing I want to touch. Just with Samuel Montembeault being the starter, Caden Primo as his backup. I'm excited to see what Caden Primo can do, given some kind of more significant minutes. Obviously, he was the third goalie last year, didn't play a ton. But I think kind of this is kind of that moment for him. Okay, like, you know, Montembeault's probably not playing 50, 60 games. Like, it's probably going to be a relatively even split, you know. So I think like 35, 40 games for Cade and Primo in the NHL, you know, could kind of prove one thing or the other. Like, either he is good enough to play in this league, like we've kind of hoped he has been for the last couple of years, or that, you know, he's a backup and that's all he's going to be, and that's fine because we have kind of some younger goalies coming through. But yeah, I expect that to have fun, play hard, give everything we got, and if we suck, then we suck. But I think Marty St. Louis is going to have them playing the right way, giving that effort. And like I said, we're not going to compete past the trade deadline. We're not going to be, you know, pushing for a playoff spot in the final weeks. But I think just winning some more games, playing the right way, kind of seeing that growth and development is really kind of the goal for the Montreal Canadiens this year. Again, sorry. You've got the same spiel like for like 3 years in a row now, and it's just
we have gotten the same spiel for 3 years in a row.
We're so close. We're so close to not having that spiel anymore, and then it's like, okay, like, can we challenge for a playoff spot, please? But we're just not quite there yet. Just by a hair, we're off. And also, we play in the fucking hardest division in the league too. So like,
a stat that I actually just saw on TSN right there. They're doing a preseason. I have it on mute over here on one of my screens. If the Habs miss, this will be the first time in their history that they've missed the playoffs for 4 straight years.
And so here's not just like a slight detour, but like, even when the Habs were like kind of not good, like we still managed to get into the playoffs every once in a while. Like we still pull it off. We might not have done anything in those runs, but like we always kind of made it. But yeah, I think we're just short this year, unless fucking, you know, 2 or 3 teams in the Atlantic all fucking drop off the face of the earth. Like, yeah, it's just, you know, and maybe if a different division, if we were in a, you know, if we were playing in the fucking Central, or fucking it's not the Atlantic, the Metro. Like, I think they're, you know, maybe would push a little closer for a playoff spot. But when you have kind of 4 of the best teams in the league already in your division, like, just not ideal.
Yeah, no, and that's, I think, from what I've gathered from most people in Montreal media, most people in hockey media, most people kind of, they don't expect much from the Habs this year, but we're getting to the point now in this rebuild that we're talking about, which they called it themselves through an Amazon Prime documentary. Check it out now.
It's actually through like Crave and like HBO and all that fun stuff. So yeah,
they're owned by Bell, so that makes perfect sense. Anyway,
yeah. No, like literally, that's exactly why.
Like, I think how a lot of people are feeling about this team is you get one more year, but next year, if you're not pushing, you got to start asking some very hard questions.
100%, and that's kind of where the Patrick Laine trade kind of fit perfectly in the timeline, because, you know, you have him for this year and next. Like, if you can't add him to your top, you know, 6 and kind of do something to show something, you know, like I said, like, just push for play meaningful games after the trade deadline. Like, play some meaningful games in March. I think that's like a totally fair thing. So yeah, and that's kind of like with the Laine trade was kind of that was the intent, was to add a guy who can help us do that. But yeah, I think unless something catastrophic injury-wise happens, and I'm knocking on all of the wood in my office right now, yeah, like next year, as Tampa and Boston age out, like, yes, like the Habs should start to be challenging for that last playoff spot. And yeah, I think if at the end of next season we're still not doing that, then yeah, absolutely, you have to kind of raise those questions. But I think the core is still young enough, and not that they haven't been challenged, but like the challenges that we've had to face already, we've kind of been dealing with them. It's not like we've been like falling short, if you know what I mean. So I think, you know, this is kind of the next step. Like, hey, like, can we now play meaningful games in March? And, you know, if we can do that, great. Let's play meaningful games in April, and then, you know, push it from there. But yeah, absolutely. That's a fair thing to say. If we're not kind of contending for a playoff spot by the end of next year, then yeah, absolutely, you know, questions need to be asked. But I still think like we just added Lane Hudson. Ryan Backer's out for the season, unfortunately, with that knee injury. Ivan Demidov is still playing in Russia. We're probably adding him next year. Like, I still think there's enough time and enough steps still in there that the Habs are on the right track.
Yeah, and that's where you're at. And every team, like we were talking earlier about some teams, like you guys went for a cup run, right? And I think most teams, maybe it's not that they shouldn't have been there, but most people weren't expecting them to be there at that point either. And then they just kind of fell off the face of the earth after that cup run. Like that's what happened. It was Weber gone, Price gone, team gone, basically. And it's been kind of trying to get back ever since. They made management changes. Obviously, Bergevin out. He was in. And these are...
Gordon.
Oh, fuck Gordon.
Jeff Gordon.
Yeah.
I love me some Jeff Gordon.
Anyway, it's just you want to see some progress, I guess. And it's going to be difficult now with Laine being out specifically. Like, that sucks. And obviously... that just sucked. Like, there's no other way to say that. You hate to see a guy, especially like Laine, who has dealt with issues before. He's been part of the NHL Player Assistance Program, right? To see him now have to be away from the game for another 3 months, that sucks. Like, there's no other way to say that. And I don't think that was the intent by whoever that Marley was. I think his name was Cedric Paré. Like,
here's my like 2 cents on it, because if we're gonna bring it up, we'll bring it up. I don't think he went out there intentionally going, "Oh, I'm going to try and snap someone's fucking leg." And those replays, I fully thought his leg was just snapped in half, the way it fucking bent and grim.
Yes.
But whenever you stick a knee out at a guy like that, you're just asking for fucking trouble. Like
I know, but I think it was more of a reaction thing, Gitano. I don't think it was intent at all.
No.
I don't think he was intending to knee the guy, and it's not even.
Well, no. Here's the thing. I don't think he's intending to hurt Laine, but the way he sticks his knee out, it's just you don't do that in hockey or in any sport really. But yeah, like I said, I don't think it was intentional. Like, oh, I'm going to try and fucking snap Patty Laine's leg in half. I think it was, holy fuck, Patty Laine is about to walk me. I need to try and get a piece of him somehow, because I shouldn't ever be on the fucking same sheet of ice as him, because, you know, Patty Laine, AHL scrub, right? Like, and he just made a really, really stupid decision to stick his knee out. And yeah, that's kind of it.
See, but what Xhekaj did was not any better. Like, let me be very clear. That was garbage. Like, that was garbage. And the fact that he didn't get suspended, it allowed him to almost kill Tim Stützle the next night. Like,
okay. So now we're gonna do this. We'll do the Xhekaj. We'll do the Xhekaj talk. So first,
what else are we gonna fucking do it?
I just, I wasn't sure how it was going to come up. I assumed it was going to come up. Just okay. Because it's a preseason game, and by the way, it's still a knee, like it's still a penalty. But because it's preseason, to me, that's 5 in a game. And then that you go to both benches and you say, "This is done. It's dealt with. Guys out of the game. No more fucking bullshit." Because this was like 3 minutes into the fucking game. Like genuinely, I'm not even kidding. So yeah, I would have tossed Cedric Paré. And that went to both benches, say, "You want to do anything stupid, you're all getting tossed." Like, we're not doing any of this shit. It's preseason. Fucking relax. The refs don't do that. They don't even call any penalty on the play. So yeah, Cedric Paré, by the code, has to answer for that hit. That's the way the code works, whether it's intentional or not. Whatever, you have to answer for taking out a star player. Arbor Xhekaj gave him a couple shots to the leg, a couple slashes, say, "Hey, like, we got to go." Cedric Paré decided to duck his head into his shoulder pads and, pray. And again, not saying that Arbor Xhekaj was right. He should not have just fucking started swinging like that, especially with his gloves on into the back of the head. But, the response, I like. The actual actions of the response, not so much.
No, that was garbage. And then the hypocrisy and he did not hit Stützle in the face. I will be honest there. He did not hit Stützle.
Let's again, the hockey world seems to miss Ridley Gregg fucking trying to take Kirby Dach's head off.
So that was a clean hit. So that was
late. It's again, and the same thing for Xhekaj. The contact of the hit is fine. It's it's shoulder to shoulder, no head contact. Both hits are super fucking late and from the blind side and just predatory, really.
So the difference, I'll tell you the difference. The difference is when Doc got hit, that was pure shoulder into chest. Yes, it was from the blind side. Yes, it was.
Here's the thing.
What you watch is slowed down. Let me be very clear. What you watch is slowed down. And that's not even what I don't like about the Jack I hit, about the fact that it was late. What I don't like about it was the chicken wing elbow trying to, intending to injure Tim Stützle. That's what I didn't like. There was no intent to injure with the hit on Doc. There was no intent to injure.
It's late. It's super fucking late and from the blind side, which is my issue with both hits. I'm not a fan of the
So that's not the problem with the Jack I hit. The Jack I hit is the elbow coming up, which is total garbage.
But he doesn't fucking hit him. He doesn't hit him with it. So what the fuck does it
matter?
No,
but it's the intent. And I started this out by saying he doesn't actually make contact with the head, but he tried. He intended to try and take his head off. Like that was what Jack I went in and thought about before he did it.
But again, I'm really enjoying this mentality from the Canadians now. Of okay, you're going to take a run at Kirby Doc. Great, we're going to take a run at one of your players. Fuck you. Like we're not dealing with guys, now that we have an Arbor Jackeye who's going to stand up for his teammates and is going to fucking, kind of enforce the code.
Jackeye shouldn't have even been playing in that game, and that's the problem I have.
I'm not arguing with that either. He absolutely should have been. And again, for me, I'm a big stickler for extra discipline. I would have happily said Jackeye after that. You're just after the Power thing. You're just done for preseason. Like we don't need this shit. Like we genuinely don't. And the way the NHL preseason went with the injuries all around the league, that was the last thing we needed.
We should just, some teams played 8 preseason games. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Play 3. And the other thing.
That's perfect. 3 is
the other
perfect.
thing is don't play any of your fucking divisional rivals in those preseason games.
No, because there's no reason for it. It should be the Leafs versus fucking Utah. And Montreal versus LA.
Go on a fucking West Coast swing. Go to LA, San Jose, and Anaheim, and play where there's no fucking beef, no heat. Because again, and then the NHL is just asking for this stupid shit to happen. Because we played the Leafs 3 times in preseason?
2 or 3 times, yeah.
And I know we played the Senators 2 or 3 times. It's just like, why? And then shit gets out of hand, and here we go.
Interdivisional, no reason. No reason for it.
But I'm going to spark notes this. Pare hit on line A. Really bad, but not intentional. Should have been tossed. If he had been tossed, you don't get Jackeye jumping Pare. But Jackeye should have jumped Pare, but shouldn't have hit him with the gloves onto the back of the head. Should have been suspended for that, but wasn't. Ridley Greig should have been tossed for the, again, high, late predatory hit on Kirby Doc. Isn't.
Disagree.
I mean, here, again, it's fucking preseason. You don't need to be throwing that hit in fucking preseason. You know what I mean? Because again, it escalates. It always escalates. It never fucking de-escalates, Ave. But again, if you kick Ridley Greig out and you say, "Okay, we're not fucking doing this shit," then it's done. Jackeye doesn't have to fucking take a run at Stützle, and that's that. Yeah. I love Arbor Jackeye. We'll defend him to the fucking end. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm just realizing we've been podcasting for well over an hour now.
Just under. We're just under. Because you may or may not have fucked up the intro the first time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. So I'll just be very brief with, I kind of already went over this when we were talking about the number 1, 2 in the division. But I will briefly talk a little bit more about Toronto. I like the team this year. I know I say that every fucking year, but I do. I like the additions over the year. I think honestly the biggest one isn't even on the ice. I think it's coach. It's the coach. That's the biggest change for sure. I think having I'm on I don't even know what this website is. I'm just looking at a depth chart. They have this website is called Dauber Sport. I've never heard of it in my life. It was one of the Google searches.
No Daily Faceoff?
Anyway. Pardon?
Not Daily Faceoff?
Well, let's see. Why it didn't come up Daily Faceoff. Let me see who they have. I'm assuming it's going to be the same.
Yeah.
But let's go Daily Faceoff. So yeah, they have Morgan Riley and Chris Tanev as the 1-2. OEL, Jake McCabe as the 2-3, and then Benoit Timmins as the 3-4. That leaves Liljegren out, which is interesting to me. Yeah, I don't know about that. I just don't know about that. I really wanted them to take a much harder and more serious look at having William Nylander center his own line. I really, really wanted that to happen, and it seems like it's not going to happen. They have Nylander back on Tavares' wing. I thought having Nylander as your second line center would be great, with maybe call it Max Domi and Nick Robertson on the wings. I thought that would be fantastic, and then that gives Tavares so much more opportunity on that third line, dude.
So wait, who Matty Nye's on the wing with Matthews and Marner?
Okay. Correct. Yeah. No,
just making sure we're on the same page here.
That's how it's been all preseason, and I think that's how most people want it to be. That's where I want Matthew Nyes playing. I want him fitting in there well. But then you would have, let's say, a line of John Tavares, Calle Yarncroke, and Max Pacioretty as your third line. That could work. Pacioretty gets hurt, which is likely. Throw Bobby.
Yeah, I was just about to say, if Max Pacioretty's Achilles holds up, because he's played like
then you throw Bobby McMahon. You throw McMahon in there.
Oh yeah.
Those two are going to be rotating in and out all year long. I can tell you that right now. Stephen Lawrence, Stanley Cup champion, on the fourth line with Kampf and Reeves. I would probably, instead of Kampf, maybe have Holmberg in that fourth line spot.
Over Kampf or over Reeves?
Over Kampf, probably. Really? Well, unless you want to stick Holmberg on the wing or Kampf on the wing and have Reeves sit, but
I think this is no offense to him, but like I feel like Reeves is very much like he's going to play like 10 games this year. They're going to be like, they're going to be, against the Habs, against fucking the Bruins. Like, I don't see, especially if I'm not sure how Berube wants to use him, but like I just can't see him because he doesn't bring much to the actual game of hockey. So I just don't think Berube is just gonna, and I don't want to call Ryan Reeves a passenger, but I just don't think he contributes enough if it's not kind of policing the game to kind of warrant a spot in the lineup regularly anyways. There's definitely moments in the season where you're going to need him, but like I just don't think regularly.
Yeah, well, we'll see how that kind of works out. It'll really depend on how Reeves plays, right? Like if he's a complete, like they'll start him definitely on the fourth line, and if he's a complete liability out there, you're right. They'll absolutely take him out of the lineup and only use him for those games when you really need him. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm really disappointed that Tyler Bertuzzi didn't resign. Like I really think Tyler Bertuzzi would have been a great would have looked great in this lineup, but it is what it is, man. Sometimes
he would fit nice in that middle six, but I also love him going to Chicago.
Yeah, kind of sucks. Anyway, I think it's going to be a good year for Toronto. As I said, I think they're going to finish top in the division, as I've said pretty much every year though, and they haven't yet. So we'll see.
Like I said, like we both play in the hardest division in the fucking league. Like it's not a cakewalk for one of the better teams in the league like you guys. So not it's not anything to hang your head over. Do you want to do individual awards quick and a couple little other side notes?
Yeah, I don't have any written down, so I'll just raw dog them. Just give me the names, okay. And
I'll write them down for you. So I've got it up here.
Okay.
So the Hart,
McDavid.
There's going to be a trend of mine in my notes, but yeah, McDavid's kind of Art Ross also McDavid. The Rocket.
Matthews.
Here's the thing. I'm really tempted to. I actually have McDavid down for mine. Like I said, I think he's just gonna go fucking supernova this year, and it would not shock me if he put up like 65 plus. But Matthews is, fucking stupid good too, and will probably end up winning it. But I just envision McDavid going like fucking 68, 70 goals, fucking 150 assists, like genuinely.
Okay.
Calder.
Celebrating.
Okay. I have Lane Hutson. I think he's going to get a lot of time on the power play, which is going to make him look a lot better and also going to boost his stats a little bit. And I think I think Lane's got it. Vesna, I've got Jake Ottinger, but it's a really tight one. It has been the last couple of years in terms of goalies. There's those kind of 3 or 4 kind of elite guys and not a lot else. So I just think Ottinger of those kind of elite goalies is going to have the best year.
I'll go Hellebuck again to repeat.
Not a terrible shout. I don't like the team around him. So Norris, again, kind of same situation as goaltending. You have those kind of 5 guys that are going to be competing for it. I've gone with Cale Makar. Yeah. But again, the Adam Fox, the Quinn Hughes of the world, the Roman Yossi's definitely still can make an impact. The Selke, I've gone with my guy that you actually brought up earlier, Philippe Deneau out in LA. I think he's going to have a fantastic year.
Austin Matthews.
Again, not a terrible shout. Stanley Cup, I assume you're going Toronto. Again, following the theme, I'm going with Edmonton. I keep saying it. I will continue to say it. McDavid's going to have one of the best years of his career this season, coming off that heartbreak. And I think he's going to lead them back to the cup, and they're going to win it, unfortunately. Conn Smythe. So with that, I also have McDavid winning it. I'm going to assume you want Matthews winning it.
Nylander.
Interesting. Actually, no, not interesting. You've done this a couple times where you go Leafs win and Nylander instead of Matthews or Marner. I don't think there's any Panarin Award eligible players right now.
Not that I can think of.
Yeah, none that I can think of. Anyways, who will be the Leafs team MVP this year?
Matthews.
Who will be your Leafs I should do the halves on. Nick Suzuki is going to be the team MVP. He just is that guy for us. He's going to have a fantastic year and be our best player. So for All-Stars, I've got Suzuki, and I also have Juraj Slafkovsky. I think he's going to have a great year, and I think the NHL is going to like the PR of him and his kind of personality, and I think he'll end up at the All-Star game.
Okay. So I'll pick 2, and I'll pick Nylander and Matthews.
Fair. The player that you're most excited to see for the Leafs this season?
Chris Tanev.
Interesting. A little bit of thought on it, or just excited to see a fucking big gray blue liner for the first time in a long time?
It. I just want to see somebody who is big, strong, and plays defense well on our top pairing. That's really all I'm looking forward to watching.
Honestly, I can't even argue with that. I've kind of gone the other end of the spectrum on defense. I've gone for Lane Hudson. Again, this kid is just electrifying, and I cannot wait to see the highlights. Like, it's going to be his highlight reel at the end of the year is going to be disgusting. I'm just super excited to see that. Bounce back player of the year. I've gone for Kirby Dach. Obviously, played 4 periods of hockey last year and blew his ACL out. So I'm excited to see what he can kind of put together over hopefully an 82 game season.
I don't know if this qualifies, but Nick Robertson.
Absolutely qualifies.
He's had a rough go for years now. He just can't seem to stay consistently in the lineup, and I think he's going to have an opportunity to do that this year. I think he's going to score
a good preseason.
He had a stupid good preseason, and I can see him scoring 20, 25 goals this year. And if he does that, he should consider this year a success.
Absolutely. Breakout player of the year. I talked about mine previously. Caden Primo, like I said, it's a big chance for him to play significant NHL minutes and kind of establish himself either as, a kind of a 1B to Samuel Montembeault or not. So, I think kind of the ball's in his court, and it should be a good test for him.
So this is kind of hard in Toronto because there's not a lot of unknown guys who you're
here's the thing. It doesn't have to be an unknown. It could be, a good player becoming great. You know what I mean?
I would probably go with Matthew Nyes getting a real opportunity on that top line. That's I think where I'm going to go with that. Yeah.
No, that's an excellent show. That's within the spirit of the breakout player. And the last one is your under the radar player. So a guy who's just going to low key, real quiet, have a solid year.
Do
you want me to give
not that he hasn't in the past, but Jake McCabe.
Yeah, that's Solid shout, actually. So I've gone with Adam Engstrom, the 20-year-old defenseman. He'll be 21 in November. Kind of a really good preseason. Obviously, just the way that the Habs defense kind of is right now. He's going to start the year in Laval. But again, the way it is, they're going to rotate those guys up and kind of through the system. And yeah, he just looks really good. He just seems, for a guy who played in Sweden and is so young, just the pace that he played his game, and his game is good, but the pace that he played it with was like NHL pace, which was kind of shocking to see from someone who hadn't played in the NHL before and still technically hasn't. But yeah, his game just looked really, really good, and I think he's just gonna, in 20-ish appearances, I think he's gonna impress a lot.
There you go.
And the last one before we wrap up here, your hottest take. I'll start with mine. I think Marner re-signs in Toronto midway through the season.
Okay. Okay. Hottest take. See, this is why doing these beforehand is better, because I can't. Yeah. Hottest take. Let me just look at this Leafs team real quick right here.
I mean, your hot take, because last year my hot take was Jack Hughes was a Hart Trophy finalist. So your hot take doesn't have to be Leafs related.
Yeah, no, I think my hot take last year was the Allmark one, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, the Allmark was going to finish with a sub percentage.
Yeah, it was not great, not great.
Okay, you know what? I will go with a hot take, and it is Leafs related. I'm going to go with OEL will be running the power play by the end of the year.
Interesting. I think, not that that's not a hot take, but I think that is a quite reasonable hot take. Like, there's definitely a scenario where that happens.
Right.
Like it's like definitely like it's definitely doable, but also at the same time, like, are you going to displace Morgan Rielly? Like, I don't know. That's a good one. I like that.
Thank you. That was on the spot.
I like that. So that is it for predictions and preseason and all of that fun stuff. Do you have anything else to kind of add? Anything else you're looking around the league potentially, or just?
No, I am just really, really excited for this season. It's been too long without hockey in my life, and the preseason wasn't doing it for me, and the regular season gets going tomorrow if you're listening to this on Monday.
It technically has already started, by the way.
Oh, fuck. That's not real hockey. Come on.
The Sabres are 0-2, and the season hasn't even technically started yet. I love it.
Like, why do they do that? Where, like, there's preseason games and then regular season games and then more preseason games. Like, that is the dumbest setup. Like, just stop the preseason, man. Stop it.
Here's the thing. I love the NHL games in Europe. I think it's a fantastic way to grow the game.
That's markets. Not the problem. Where they are is not the issue.
No, 100%. But, like, having those games going on in the middle of preseason, like, what the fuck? Like,
why? Like, why? It's like,
end
all
preseason.
It does is confuse everybody.
Yeah, like, end preseason, go to Europe, and then start your season. Like, fucking.
Yes, what? Yeah, just pick 4 teams, take them over there, have them play each other for the first, like, divisional rivals, have them play each other starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Why did it happen?
They could have played this weekend. You know what I mean? Like, just start with those games this weekend in Europe, give them time to come back, start the regular season on Tuesday or Wednesday.
There's no feasible reason to have more preseason games after those out of country games. There's just no reason for it.
No. Okay. No, I thought you were saying out of control ones this year, and like also those, yes. Because just a shit show of preseason, man.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. Everybody got hurt, and then nobody knew if it was preseason anymore or not because they played regular season games in fucking England, and it's like, what are we doing here? Is that where they were?
In Germany and Czech Republic.
Is that where the O2 Arena is? I thought the O2 Arena was in London.
Okay, but there's multiple O2 arenas in the same way there's like multiple like Rogers Place and Rogers Stadium and Rogers this and Rogers that. O2 just owns a lot of stadium ownership.
What the hell even is O2?
They're
Oxygen?
Well, like, yes, but I should know this, but they're fucking they're telecommunications out of like
Spain. Of course they are.
Yeah, of course they are, right?
Stupid.
The last thing I want to end this on, PWHL, the teams have like actual names now and logos and things.
They're kind of awful.
I'm not gonna lie. A couple of them are. A couple of them are really fucking good though. So like we'll start with the shit ones. The Toronto Scepters, terrible.
Don't even know what that means.
Terrible. The Ottawa Charge, don't hate it, but their logo is basically just a Flames logo.
It's like the Flame. It's like if the Flames and the Cleveland Cavaliers had a baby.
Exactly. And it's just like, be more creative. New York Sirens I actually quite like. I think that's really good. And the logo is not terrible. The Boston Fleet I fucking love. Again, hate the city of Boston and everything it stands for. Fantastic sports team name and a fantastic logo. Minnesota Frost again is another. It fits. Like that's fantastic. And the Montreal Victoire, fucking beautiful. But yeah, the Charge and the Scepters, fucking awful. But I'm excited for that league to kind of actually have like proper branding now.
Yeah, that'll be good for sure. They have more branding than the Utah team.
They literally do. Yeah. Can you buy those like Utah jerseys or no?
I think so.
Why would you? I need to check this right now. But like, why the fuck would you do that?
Obviously you can buy them. There's no way that they made them and they're not selling them, dude.
Like no, like I get that, but like it's more a thing of like why would you sell like fucking basically like warm up jerseys?
You can definitely buy NHL Utah jerseys.
No.
What?
I'm on the NHL shop website right now, and I do not see when I have the list of teams scrolling down here.
So I'm seeing pre-order.
So I can go to Vintage, and they've got Arizona. But yeah, no, they should be after the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? You know, they should be between the Leafs and Canucks, and they are not there.
Interesting.
Which I mean, like the point I was going to make was like it would feel very scummy to sell like these jerseys that you're not going to wear for more than a year and are basically just fucking like practice jerseys with their logo on it.
Yes, but if you understand, like, come on.
No, like again, well, here's the thing: you should be able to spend money on whatever you want to spend your money on. You know what I mean? But yeah, no jerseys.
You're right. I don't see any jerseys. Holy cow! Like, there's everything else, but no jerseys.
Yeah.
That's really surprising to me. They got a bit like they have to be selling them in
maybe in stadium for sure, but definitely they're not on the official website.
I am shocked.
Yeah, I'm shocked the NHL isn't trying to make money off it because you know it's kind of the point. But yeah, I'm like,
what do you think they're going to go with
surprised.
Their team name?
I like the Yetis still. I think that's a
Utah Yetis.
Yeah.
I like the Utah Soakers.
Why?
I think that would be awesome.
Now, did they give us the timeline for? Because I know they said they have. I know they said they have like the name picked out, but did they give a timeline for it at all or no?
Well, then why aren't they fucking using it? There's a hockey season starting tomorrow.
I think at that point it was just like they couldn't get all of the kind of branding and stuff they need.
I know.
Right?
Like, this is so dumb. Anyway, I hate this trend of sports teams that just like they're like, yeah, we'll go without a name. Like that is the dumbest. Like the Washington Commanders in the NFL used to be Washington Football Team. Actually, that one, I think Washington Football Team is better than Washington Commanders. I truly believe that.
100%. Here's the thing: when it fits, it's fantastic. So you see it obviously in MLS because kind of European teams don't have like it's just the team name. There's no like Montreal Canadiens or like, you know, Toronto Maple Leafs.
There's no mascot or
like it's nothing like, oh, there are mascots, but it's not related to the other half of the team name. It's just on the city. So like when you have like a Toronto FC for soccer, like it fits nicely. But again, some of them also don't. Like there's also like some really ugly ones like CF Montreal, Club de Foot Montreal. Terrible. They were the Montreal Impact. Fantastic name. But like I think the Utah Hockey Club, I really like. I think it fits. It's nice. I like it. I would Utah not hate it. I would not hate the Utah Hockey Club sticking around permanently. You definitely got that from like fucking Biz Nasty or somebody, right?
No. Anyway, are we done here?
I think we are done. Well, yeah, there's nowhere to go after that. There's nowhere to go. But to our listeners and viewers, thank you for joining us. Thank you for bearing with us over the preseason here and the off season. We're just both so happy to be back. And yeah, you should be expecting content kind of resume the regular schedule every Sunday at 7:00 on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, and everything on Spotify. We'll be fucking everywhere, all over again. And I'm fucking super excited for it.
So am I. Thank you, everybody, for listening to episode 128 of the Bitter Rivals podcast, powered by 91N. We are glad to be with you, and we can't wait to talk to you again next week.